So more Henry Akin's back game. Just scoot up a bit there, so a bit closer, and you're facing that way. So we're going to look at the collar choke from the back. We looked at the rear naked last time. The problem with when you're on the back and I open the collar, so it's just a flick of the support hand, the underhook hand. If I go thumb in with 4 fingers gripped, okay, and now we find the other collar or lapel, and now from there I'd be making connection. My chin is on his shoulder. Notice the way I keep my sternum between the shoulder blades. I'm connected to them, and now I withdraw my right shoulder to get the choke. That's how it's traditionally taught. The problem is Tyrone can get a grip with his right hand at my wrist to create a little bit of separation. Now he can find the lapel underneath my underhook hand, and from that position, just by pulling his hands in 2 directions, he can break that grip. Again, even if I'm holding this as tight as possible, when he makes that grip, and he'll probably grab as close to my choking hand as possible. The minute he breaks that open, and again, this is where you're getting finger injuries and stuff. So Henry Akins doesn't choke with 4 fingers, he chokes with 2 fingers. So I make the same grip, but instead of grabbing with 4 fingers, I just grab with 2 fingers, and I look at my watch here like this. This grip is relaxed. So now if Tyrone gets his hand inside and makes that grip, because my arm is loose and I just grab with 2 fingers and he starts ripping away from that position, you can rip all day. Okay, that's not coming. Oh, it did come off. So again, keeping my grips, keep going. Notice the way there's play in that arm. When I feel him pulling that road, I can go with it. Okay. The other thing about when I go for 4 fingers inside, it's the thin part of my forearm was choking, and there's not much play in my wrist. My wrist will only move this way. So when I make that choke and have the thin part against Tyrone's neck or his throat, there's not so much connection. So Henry Akin's way of playing it is he uses the fat part of the forearm. So with that 2-finger grip, when you look at your watch, the fat part is around his neck. And also look at the bend. When I use that profile, there's a bigger bend in my wrist. So it's kind of like a rope going around his neck. So once I make that grip, so we open up the collar, that's a 2-finger grip inside. Second hand finds the other collar, and then I look at my watch. So how do we finish from here? I'm going to pinch with my knees, bring my hooks in. So I'm keeping Tyrone in a stationary position, and now my arm is relaxed. From this position now, I create separation. Okay, as I look over my left shoulder and move my sternum away from his back. That's the movement there. And again, I'm using what, 20%, 30% of my choking power. I'm not just blasting in at over 50-60% and then tanking my arms. And again, the goal is, as I start to initiate the choke, it really only goes on fully whenever my right arm is starting to straighten. I'm also doing a slight pull down in the collar, but nothing major. This choke really comes into effect whenever Tyrone gets a pull-up grip on my choking arm. If I do it this way, his own hands choke him out. So it's just this movement here. The connection of his own hands chokes him out. Whereas if I had a 4-finger grip inside and he gets 2 hands in, and I stay connected from there, very, very difficult to create or to finish the choke because Tyrone's created space around his neck. But if I switch to 2 fingers and the detail is I keep my choking arm limp. Okay, it's just like a piece of string, rope. And now as he pulls down and creates a space, when I clamp and keep his lower body in position, and now I start to look over my shoulder and create separation, his own hands are going into the choke. And now from there it's just like a rope around his neck. That is Henry Akin's collar choke from the back.